You are listening to Green Talk, presented by GreenRunsDeep.com. Now, here's your host.
Jordan puts on his show. Jordan, tongue it. As soon as that truck goes out, you know something's going to happen. Oh, no time for Mr. Jordan.
All right, welcome back, everyone, to the Green Talk podcast presented by GreenRunsDeep.com. I am your host, Trent Fleming, and I am joined, as always, by our executive producer, Brandon Kivlin. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. It's been a while.
It's been a while. Feels good, though. And also, we're joined by, all the way from the UK, by our resident Canadian, Graham Anderson. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. How you doing?
Yeah, it's late over there, huh?
Yeah, it's a little late, but hey, and anytime's a good time to have basketball talk, so I'm up for it.
That's what I'm talking about. All right. We don't have any sponsors, so I'll skip that part. Today on the show, we're going to be talking about free agency. We're going to play a little Canadian-themed game that Graham came up with. We're going to discuss a few things about the Celtics offseason. I'm really interested to get involved in that. But today, we're going to talk about the giant NBA elephant in the room, the DeAndre Jordan fiasco. Now, we all know that DeAndre Jordan, about 2 days into free agency, committed to the Mavericks for a max deal. And 2 days before free agency ended, he was surrounded by his teammates and his front office over at the Clippers in his house in Houston, and pretty much locked down until he signed his max deal with the Clippers. Now, I gotta ask you guys, what does this seem like to you, and how does this look as far as DeAndre Jordan and the Mavericks and the Clippers? Like, how does this affect what's going to happen in the future in free agency? And we'll start with Graham. What do you think, man?
Here's kind of my thoughts on it. Is free agency is 10 days, and 2 days into it, he says he's going to sign a max deal with the Mavericks, and everything looks hunky dory in Dallas land. Cubans, on cloud nine. And then 2 days before free agency ends, he decides to go back to LA. For me, guys can change their mind. I mean, Dallas is obviously going to be upset about it. The fans of Dallas are going to be upset about it. But he agreed to that deal so early. If he agreed to a deal with Dallas and it was like the seventh day in, and then the next day he went back and said, no, I'm taking that deal back. But there was a week between that, and I think that kind of has a bigger effect. Like Dallas thought, free agency is almost done. We got this guy locked down. Perfect. And then it's almost done, and then he switches his mind. So as far as I'm concerned, guys can change their mind. Obviously, how I look at that is if I'm LA and I look at DeAndre Jordan, in my opinion, doing that, I think that says that LA doesn't think they can win without DeAndre Jordan. I know the last time I was on, I said something crazy like, what if they traded Chris Paul and kept DeAndre Jordan and Blake Griffin? But for me, I think that's if I'm the Clippers, that's how I look at it. Is if DeAndre leaves, Chris Paul and Blake Griffin are not necessarily enough for us to compete in the West. So I think if I'm the Clippers and DeAndre Jordan's going to leave, even though now you've brought in Paul Pierce, you need DeAndre Jordan to be that guy that can go out and get you 15 boards a night. I don't think without him that they can be a top 4 team in the West. So that's how I look at it.
For me, like it screamed kidnapping. I mean, we saw that picture that Blake Griffin tweeted out. I guess that he locked up the door with a chair. But it was a weird situation. I really don't like it on the part of DeAndre Jordan. I'm a man of my word. When there's a handshake deal or a verbal commitment, I mean, I expect both parties to follow through. And I don't like it on that front, but as well, like as what I don't. He agreed so early, and then he goes back on his word. I didn't like it. I just think it's a big screw you to Dallas, and I think the Clippers are gonna have a big target on their back now.
I had a lot of opposite feelings about this than most people did. A lot of people were very up in arms about it, saying that DeAndre's word means nothing, and boo-hoo, poor Mavericks. This should never happen. It's a gentleman's agreement and all this other stuff. And to me, it's funny how this kind of thing happens in other businesses in our country all the time. One guy commits to going to even a college. He'll commit to going to college, back out, and go somewhere else, and that very rarely makes news like this. Tech companies compete over the next hot guy coming out of coming out of college, coming out of school, and he'll commit to one place. Another company comes in real late, snags him, and that's just the name of the game. This to me looks bad for the Mavericks, because if you get a guy to commit that early and you have time between the time that you get him to commit and the time that he actually signs the paper, you have to really make sure that this dude is on board. So they went, they got his commitment, and they were all happy and wonderful and stuff, and then they left him alone. They left him alone. And your recruiting does not end when you get the verbal commitment. Your recruiting ends when the guy signs the paper.
So they should have sent Parsons down to sleep over at his house every day.
They should have taken this dude out to dinner every night until he signed the paper. Let DeAndre know that he's going to be valued in Dallas. But let him know that that we are so excited to have you that we're going to spend all of our time and all of our energy to get you on board. Not just a verbal commitment that we actually like you and want you to be here. It looks bad because Mark Cuban did a half job. He got the verbal commitment. He thought he was done. He went on and did his other business work. And it allowed the Clippers to evaluate their situation and figure out, hey, we didn't get anybody that we wanted to get, so we really need to go get DeAndre. And say what you want about their method, but it worked. At the end of the day, DeAndre Jordan is back in LA in a Clippers uniform, and he'll be playing for them and not the Mavericks. And to me, if you can't lock this guy down to the point where he's not going to want to change his mind, then you haven't done your job as an executive.
But don't you think it's a little wrong? And if the reports are correct, this is kind of what happened. He talked to the Clippers and wouldn't respond to any of Cuban's texts. Like, don't you think it's a little wrong of him to do that? Like, no communication, no text, no call.
And for me, I don't think it's necessarily wrong. Like Trent said, 2 days in, yep, we got him. Okay, we'll leave him alone for the next week. Like, I don't think DeAndre Jordan owes Mark Cuban anything. I think he goes, we talked a week ago, and you haven't talked to me since. I think you do need to wine and dine the guy. Take him out for dinner in Dallas every time. Get him Rangers tickets. Have him, and at MLB games. Have him, have him do anything he can to make his face known. Without it being a problem.
Show him what life is going to be like in Dallas when he's the star player for the Mavericks, and they didn't do that.
Exactly. So that's why I don't think he owns Mark Cuban a call. I think it goes, yeah, you haven't talked to me in a week. Like, if Mark Cuban, if they had continued communication, we're talking every other day or every day, then sure, it's kind of not very nice of DeAndre Jordan to text him that day. But if Mark Cuban hadn't talked to him in a week, then I'm fine. I think it's almost like, yeah, you guys really wanted me a week ago, but kind of seems like you didn't really try that hard to keep me interested in being with you.
If someone offered me $85 million or whatever they offered him, I mean, you're sure as hell I'm texting him back at least, like, out of respect. I mean, that's a lot of money to just kind of turn your back on and just like I think it's disrespectful. And I know he's making that at the Clippers, but I mean, that's a lot.
He's
of
making
money.
more. He's making more at the Clippers.
I know that, but like, just out of respect, like, that's a lot of money just to turn your back and not even text someone back. Like,
right, and that says negative things about DeAndre's character, and I'll give you that all day. But at the end of the day, the business is what wins out. I mean, nobody likes Rondo as a person, but we consider that a win when Sacramento goes and signs him for a year at $9.5 million. Like, they consider that a good thing, even though he's a horrendous human being when it comes to being in a locker room and being able to work together with other people. But we consider that a win because he's got talent. Same thing with DeAndre Jordan. Even though he's a child, it seems like, because of what this story had to showed us about him. It doesn't mean that's the only thing that matters. his talent is what matters. And the fact that the Mavericks didn't capitalize on their ability to not only get him to verbally commit, but get him sold on being in Dallas. That's where they failed. They got him to verbally commit because they capitalized on his disgruntled feeling with playing with Chris Paul and being in LA in general because he wanted to be more a part of the offense. But that's where they stopped. They didn't sell him on Dallas. They didn't sell him on the Maverick way. They didn't sell him on, I'm going to be taken care of and shown that I really matter to this team, when my team is willing to to fly halfway across the country to come see me in my house and lock me down and make sure that I don't go anywhere until I sign a contract with them. To me, that says they want me to play for them more than the guy who's just like, hey, thanks for verbally committing. We'll see you when signing day comes.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I mean, I think when it comes down to it, for me, it would have been nice for DeAndre Jordan to send him a text, but it's not something he had to do. It's not something that he was expected to do. It just would have been the nice thing to do. But the NBA isn't all about being the nice guy. It's about being the smart guy, and it's about going after the guy that more than the Mavericks when it comes to DeAndre Jordan.
All right, final thought, Brandon. What you got?
I'm glad we can agree that it looks bad on DeAndre, and I can definitely see your point on how it's an okay, fair business move.
All right. Well, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more free agency. We're going to get out of the whole DeAndre Jordan fiasco because I think we beat that into the ground, and we're going to come back, talk a little bit about some other teams and some other moves that were made. So stay tuned.
Thanks for listening to Green Talk, presented by GreenRunSteep.com. Remember to check us out on Instagram at CelticsNation5, on Twitter at CelticsNation5, and of course the website GreenRunSteep.com. And now, back to the show.
All right, welcome back, everybody. We're going to dive face first into free agency right now, talk a little bit about what's going on, some surprises that we've seen. And we want to start off with Sacramento. The Kings have just compiled so much just miscellaneous talent, is the only way that I know how to describe it. Which they, to me, I don't know if they have any understanding of how all these guys are going to play together, or if they're going to be good, and they're just going to have spend a bunch of money to get 30 wins in the West. So, out of all of these guys, that like the Rondo and the Caron Butler and probably Josh Smith is who they're talking to now. Out of all of these guys, Brandon, who do you think is gonna make the biggest impact there? And do you think the Sacramento's team can win?
I absolutely not. I don't think they're gonna win. Their whole organization just seems. I mean, every year I feel like they're getting a new coach, owners, GM. It's just it's a crap show over there. And in terms of their best free agent signing, in terms of how they're going to produce this year, I don't think I made one.
Ooh.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what they're doing. It seems like they're blindly signing checks and throwing them to these washed up guys that are hoping they can turn into a squad.
Yeah, I can completely agree with you there.
There's no clear goal that I see. That they're just trying to. It's like they're playing 2K and they're just scrolling down the free agents that have the best overall, and they're just throwing money at them blindly.
Yeah, I really agree with you there. I mean, Rondo, that signing for the year for the 9.5 scares me because it seems to me like Rondo has no interest in playing there. And he also just wants to pad his stats so that he can get picked up somewhere else after the season's over. So that just to having that guy on your roster is such a hard thing to deal with because he's so volatile in the way that he goes about things. And it's for him, he's got to have the exact right situation, the right guys around him to be good. So I don't know if that was really a great signing by them.
Yeah, the only thing I like about that contract is that it's 1 year.
Yeah.
Is that they didn't lock themselves up. They didn't put themselves in jail for more than that.
And I don't think that Rondo would have allowed them to. But, hey, Graham, what do you think, man?
Yeah, like with my thoughts with the Sacramento Kings is kind of like, you know, in Rudolph where you got the Island of Misfit Toys. It's kind of like they've developed that here. It's like they've taken a bunch of guys, like Brandon said, that are washed up, and they're kind of saying, we'll put you together. Hopefully something will work and we can win. You know, have a 500 season or at least get to 30 wins or something. You know, as much as I don't want to pick a guy, I think Rondo's going to have the biggest impact on the team, both in a positive and a negative way. I think having that 1-year contract with a crap ton of money, he's going to want to play well so he can go and sign with a contender next year. So he's going to go out and get 20 points a night, regardless of if that means he only has 1 assist. He's not going to care about his assists. He's going to want to go out there and perform and get high points per game so that another team will sign him to a multi-year deal for the same amount of money. But he's going to be horrible in the locker room. A lot of teams know that he is. So as crazy signing it is, at least like we said, it is only 1 year, so Sacramento hasn't like handcuffed him to having him for long term. But I think he's going to have the biggest impact on the team in both a positive and a negative way. But yeah, I think the West is also just a tough conference, and Sacramento it doesn't seem like they were an area where the top name free agents wanted to go. I couldn't even tell you who they drafted. Like it just kind of seems like they don't know what they're doing.
They had a decent draft. They did go out and get Willie Cauley-Stein, which I thought was a great pickup for them, because you can play DeMarcus Cousins at the 4 and have Willie Cauley-Stein anchor the defense, because I think he's got the athleticism to do it. And if he just focuses on being a great defensive player and during his time where he's not on the floor, you know, tries to develop maybe a decent jump shot or some nice post moves. Maybe they bring in somebody like Hakeem and pay him for a little bit to teach him something. Maybe he can develop into somebody who can score you maybe 10 points a night if you really need it. But I think you can play those two guys together, because DeMarcus wants his touches. He's going to get his rebounds, and he won't have to work as hard on the defensive end because they're going to have Willie Cauley-Stein underneath the basket. They also signed Kostas Koufos to, I think, a 2 or 3 year deal, something like that.
3 year.
And he's going to be there, which I don't understand when, you know, you've got 2 centers already and you don't have a power forward, and then you bring in another true blue center. That one was confusing to me. They went out and got Caron Butler for whatever reason, I guess to back up Rudy Gay. I mean, there's just a lot of moves here that haven't really made a whole lot of sense, and they're stockpiling in positions that they already have guys to play, and it just seems to me like you said, it's just the island of misfit toys, and they're just trying to figure out who works and who doesn't. And I think it's going to be a nightmare for George Karl if he even decides to coach this team.
Well, to me, it's also kind of ironic that DeMarcus Cousins is arguably their best player, because this team, I think, is built to be destructive and just crazy moves. So it's kind of ironic just to, you know, got to make the bad pun every now and again.
Yeah, no, I like that. But, you know, Rondo may be able to do what he wants to do with this team if they can get some practice in, and and these other guys understand how Rondo moves the ball, which took a little while for KG and Pierce and Ray Allen to figure out when they first got to play with Rondo. Because he's, you know, he'll get you the ball from wherever you are, even though it may look like he can't. He'll get it and he'll put it right in your hands, you know, right in your lap. And Ray Allen can attest to that. But I think maybe once they're able to figure out how Rondo does his thing, they may be okay. The only problem with that is that George Karl is a strong personality. DeMarcus Cousins is a strong personality. Rondo is a strong personality, and these guys have a reputation of wanting things their way. And if you got a coach who's very rigid like that, and you got 2 players who are very rigid like that, this could be, you know, Jason Pierre-Paul's hand as far as the fireworks situation goes. Like this could explode very quickly. And this is going to be one of the most exciting things in basketball for this next season, because I want them to be either phenomenally great or historically bad. Anything in the middle is just going to be disappointing for me. So,
and And for me, just the last point I'll make with them too is like when you look at great teams out there who have, like I'm sure if you're Cleveland, you ask LeBron James and you get his opinion on what free agent should we go after. Even though DeMarcus Cousins and Rudy Gay might not be that kind of level of a player, if I'm the Kings, I look to those guys and say you're our cornerstones, you're our equivalent of LeBron James here in Sacramento. What guys do you think you can work with that we can build a team with? And if Rondo isn't one of those guys, then you don't even look at him.
And I think there were a couple of I know Rudy Gay and Rondo are decent friends. I know that DeMarcus Cousins has talked about wanting to play with Rondo at some point. But I don't know exactly how serious that was, and I don't know if these guys really know each other that well.
And Rondo and Josh Smith went to high school together. If he ends up joining, they went to Oak Hill.
Yeah, that too. So it could work out. It could if these guys really know and understand each other and like each other. But once they start to lose, the arguments are going to start and the fireworks are going to start, and I can't wait for that implosion. It's going to be great. That's going to be a guilty pleasure for me for this NBA season because I can't wait for that to start just really blowing up in their faces. And poor Vlade Divac, he's such a great guy, but man, he's going to have a mess on his hands.
Yeah, no doubt.
But to the next thing, just real quick, the Lakers and the Knicks were unable to get really anybody for free agency, and I want to hear you guys' opinions on why that was.
Well, I mean, I think the Knicks struck out on LaMarcus Aldridge. I think because they wanted him to play center. But personally, I think the Phil Jackson, his scheme is a little outdated, and I think players are starting to catch on to that. And I just don't think that's a real draw for free agents anymore. And I mean, it's clear there's something going on because no one wants to go there anymore. With the Lakers, I think a lot of it's Kobe. I'm not sure. Again with LaMarcus Aldridge, he was very unimpressed with the meeting he had with them, and I'm not sure that. I don't like Byron Scott as a coach, but I'm not sure they have the management even that would draw players to them.
Yeah, and to kind of go off with the Lakers thing, I mean, I think the Knicks are just a bad team, so nobody really wants to go there. I don't have many thoughts on the Knicks, unfortunately, but with the Lakers, I think to kind of compare them to the Spurs, you have a lot of veterans in the Spurs with Duncan and with Parker, who have kind of, I think, more accepted that they're not in the future plans of this team. They know that they got another 1, 2, maybe 3 years in them, but they're going to have to bring in guys if they want the Spurs to be successful going forward without them. And the time to do it is now. Is not to do it when Duncan says, this is going to be my last year, and now there's nobody available. If you can get LaMarcus Aldridge now, you get him now. And I think if you're the Lakers, I think that's the problem with Kobe is he hasn't accepted that the Lakers need to go forward without you. Like, they still want him to be a big part of that team, but he isn't going to be the cornerstone of that team anymore. They need to go in a different direction where he can still be a big part of that team, but come 2-3 years from now, you're going to be retired and out of the league. He's been injury riddled the last couple of years. So I think that's why free agents have a hard time going there is because Kobe's not ready to allow somebody else to be the guy. Kobe wants to be the guy until he plays his last game.
And him taking that huge contract really speaks to that point. I mean, it's just him holding out for that. He's just not ready, and I don't think on a personal level anyone wants to be a teammate with him. I think he's a huge setback for them in terms of getting free agents anytime soon.
Yeah, I really agree with that, and I've got two things, one for each team. First off, the Lakers are way behind in the analytics game, and that really turned off LaMarcus Aldridge. And once LaMarcus Aldridge got turned off to them, there was a whole slew of guys that had no interest in going to LA at that point either. So there was a huge problem with that. And secondly, with regards to the Knicks, I think that the draft is really what killed the Knicks in this whole free agency thing. And the reason why is because they picked a guy from Latvia who nobody's heard of. And I'm not saying that Kristaps Porzingis is going to be a bad player. I'm not saying that he's not talented. I'm not saying that it was a bad pick. But when you're trying to recruit guys to come to your team that you don't have a whole lot to build around, you need to put a piece there that guys have seen play.
Yeah, you can't get a question mark like that. I completely agree.
When you have a guy on the board like a Justice Winslow who plays with fire and passion and is a great teammate and works hard, you go out and get that guy because you can attract other guys to play there. You're like, okay, we got Carmelo, you know that, but we also got this kid in Justice Winslow who's going to make everybody around him better, who has a lot of fire and passion for the game. We also, have some, put another name in there that we saw play in college. We also have this kid or this kid or this kid. When you go out and you get the guy from Latvia who you think is going to be a great player, I understand the pick, but you're not enticing anybody to come play with him because they don't know if he's going to be a bust or not. And the Euro stigma is already not a good one. So why go get that guy when you're trying to attract a bunch of other free agents to come play on your team? I think Phil really shot himself in the foot with that. And at the end of the day, it may have been a good pick because they got a kid who can actually play. But at the through the long run, I think it's going to hurt them because they didn't attract anybody who really wants to play with them now.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. And I don't think Melo was too happy with the pick either.
Yeah, I don't think so. But I mean, really, you already got Melo locked up for what, $120-some million, and he's not going anywhere, and nobody's going to want to trade for that contract, and Melo for that matter. So I'm not. If I'm Phil, I'm not too concerned with what Melo thinks.
But you gotta keep him happy. That's your superstar.
Yeah, but where's he going to go?
But I mean, do you want a superstar that's
well? Again, though, what has he done? And the fact that people are still calling Carmelo a superstar is really, really funny to me.
Are you kidding
what
me?
has he done? Yeah, what has he done? He's made it to the West to the second round of the playoffs once.
No one ever builds a good team around him. I mean, I thought Phil Jackson might do that, but he drafted whoever the hell from Latvia. I mean,
it's because nobody wants to play with Carmelo. He's not a winner. He has not shown that he wants to win. He shows that the money, the paycheck is what matters to him. And that's the problem. That's just what I see. But I mean, you may,
I see a top 3 scorer and a great player. And he's a likable guy. I mean, he just won a trip with all those guys on the banana boat.
Yeah, well, I mean, even though he's good friends with LeBron, doesn't mean he plays like LeBron or has the the mentality that LeBron does, or CP3 does, or a Dwayne Wade does. I mean, Dwayne Wade took less money to bring all those guys there to win 2 championships and make it to the finals 4 times in Miami. You think that Carmelo's going to do that? No,
but
he's already shown that he won't.
That doesn't make him not a superstar.
It makes him not a superstar because he hasn't won anything, and he's been in the league far too long to have not gone anywhere. Where some of the teams that he had in Denver were pretty good, but because of his selfishness, because of his lack of team play, they weren't able to advance because everything relied on Carmelo, and that's the way he wants it.
So you don't think he's a top 3 scorer in the league?
He may be a top 3 scorer in the league, but it's going to be on their way to winning 25 games.
I think Carmelo's kind of like a melon. Like he was ripe for a very long time, and then he's kind of gotten a little overripened, a little bad, but he's still good enough that you'll eat it and you'll have it. And I think that's kind of what Carmelo's like. He's kind of like that.
Carmelon.
Carmelon. I think as long as he's ripe, as long as you want to eat him, you got to keep that dude happy.
Yeah, and I understand that, but when you've already locked him up and you're a guy like Phil Jackson who feels like he knows what he's doing, you're not concerned about Carmelo Anthony.
Well, I think when you're giving him superstar money, you don't have to consider him a superstar, but you have to consider him making superstar money. You have to build around that guy. You have to, and you have to. Building around someone means putting players around him that he wants to play with, and he was not happy with that pick. I don't think a lot. I wouldn't be happy with that pick, honestly. I mean, I want Justice Winslow on my team personally.
No, and I completely agree with you there. But the thing about Phil Jackson, like you said at the beginning of the segment, was that he's got a system. And you want to put players in there and draft players and recruit players that play well in that system. I think that Kristaps Porzingis could play very well in the triangle. I think that would really work once they get him up to speed and everything. But the putting guys into a triangle doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be pleasing everybody who's going to play in the triangle. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I also think it's really outdated. I think obviously he's had a ton of success with him being Phil Jackson, but the league has seen such a shift in style, even the past 3 years. I don't think that's gonna work anymore.
Yeah, and we'll see once they're able to build a real team, because I mean it was a wholesale last year with everybody just here, take them, and Phil didn't really get anything back for Shumpert or J.R. Smith really. So I think that the triangle could work if it's built with the right guys, but at this point the Knicks are going to be a dumpster fire for the next 2 or 3 years, and Phil may be gone by then. So we'll see what happens.
Well,
but
okay
we've gone way over time, man. So we're gonna take a break, and we got one more question about free agency, and then we're gonna get into Graham's game when we come back.
Thanks for listening to Green Talk, presented by GreenRunsDeep.com. Remember to check us out on Instagram at CelticsNation5, on Twitter at CelticsNation5, and of course the website GreenRunsDeep.com. And now back to the show.
All right, welcome back, everybody. We got a little bit more on the free agency topic. Best free agent signing so far. And obviously we don't want to go with like the LA signing to the Spurs, because obviously that's a great one. But what's the most creative? What's the most underrated? What's the most like under the radar kind of signing that you guys have seen so far that is really going to make a difference to their team come the say maybe April or May of next year? Go ahead, Brandon.
Okay, so I have two things, and they're both veteran minimums. Obviously, I think the more obvious one, of course, is David West. I mean, he took a 12
huge pay cut.
Huge pay cut.
11 million pay cut.
Yeah. All right. So he's on the Spurs now. Huge pay cut. Huge win for them. That's more the obvious one. Something that people aren't really talking about, and I love the move. I'm a huge fan of this guy. He just hasn't panned out yet, but they got him for the league minimum. Thomas Robinson to the Nets. I
like that one too.
I really like that move. I always feel like he can be good. He just needs to be in the right situation. I think he's gonna get the playing time, the backup minutes, and I'm excited to see what that guy can do. My last one, it's not free agency move. It's just a move during free agency. I love the Lakers trade for Roy Hibbert. I love him as well. I'm
a Roy Hibbert fan?
I'm a huge Roy Hibbert fan.
Oh,
yeah, I love that guy. Love that guy. I'm not sure.
He is a mental midget, my friend.
Well, he's 7'2", so.
Yes, the mind of a 5-year-old.
Well, yeah. I'm not sure how that'll pan out, but
we'll see.
I think he's under contract for 2 more years, so not a huge investment there, and they didn't give anything up for him.
Yeah, nothing.
So I'm excited to see what he does there.
Yeah, I liked all of them. I'm not high on Roy Hibbert at all. I think getting rid of him was one of the best things that Indiana could have done. But my free agent that was the best so far was Mo Williams to the Cavs.
Oof, yeah, I forgot about that. That's good.
I think Mo to the Cavs, it just speaks volumes about that front office, be it with LeBron's influence or not, and their understanding about what they missed out on in the finals this year and why they missed out on it.
Well, let's be honest. LeBron is the front office over there. And
yes, I will agree with you. He's the end all be all of almost every decision that's made over there. But Mo to that team is going to mean so much if Kyrie gets hurt again, either during the season or in the playoffs, like before. Because even though Mo is smaller than than oh man, what's his name?
Shumpert.
No, 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 no,
Deli.
no. Yeah, Della Vadova. Even though he's smaller than Della Vadova, he's better offensively. He's more consistent. He's been in the league longer. He knows how to win. And I mean, he averaged like what 17
Mm-hmm.
points
Yeah.
for the Hornets last year. I mean, it was ridiculous. So the guy has already shown that he can play and play well in a starting role. So having him come off the bench, they didn't sign him to a whole lot of money. I mean, he took a pay cut to go there, but I think that was a huge, huge, huge upgrade for the Cavs.
Did they get J.R. Smith back?
I think they've stopped going after J.R. Smith.
Okay.
They stopped at the very beginning, then they started again, and I think they've stopped. But I may be wrong. I haven't really kept up with with J.R. Smith, I guess, as much as I should, because why would I?
Yeah.
But
Yeah. No,
Graham,
I completely forgot about that. That's a great move.
yeah, it was huge. I was really impressed with that. But Graham, who do you got? Who's the best free agent signing for you?
For me, Canadian Pride is going to take over a little bit here, but I think it is a very smart signing. It's going to be Corey Joseph to the Raptors.
I did like that one too.
Obviously, losing Lou Williams from a lot of articles and stuff I read, I guess the Raptors really didn't offer Lou Williams anything, even though he was the sixth man of the year. They kind of just never really gave him an offer, and I guess he was kind of surprised by that. So I think he went and signed with the Lakers. But I think signing Corey Joseph is great. Obviously, Canadian guy. Ujiri, obviously, he's going to go and find the best talent regardless of their nationality, but I think he likes the Canadian guys. If he could create a roster with Tristan Thompson, Andrew Wiggins, and Corey Joseph, he would do it. But I think Corey Joseph is obviously great to bring him home. He's a solid backup, I think, behind Kyle Lowry, and with the injury problems that Lowry's had the last few years, I think Corey Joseph can be a starter in the league. Coming from the Spurs as well, obviously great winning mentality there. He's been playing behind arguably one of the greatest point guards currently in the league and guaranteed Hall of Famer, in my opinion, Tony Parker. So he's come from a winning mentality, and I think that's something the Raptors need. I think, obviously, last year, the 4-game sweep in the first round of the Wizards, they needed something. They needed something to shake it up, and I think Corey Joseph is obviously going to be a great fan favorite, great signing for the fans, and I think he's going to be solid for the team.
DeMarre Carroll going up there was also a pretty good signing for them, too.
What did they get him
fantastic
for?
signing. Corey Joseph, I think they got 4 years, $40 million or something like that.
4 years, $40 million.
Yeah,
Yikes.
he's making some money, man.
I'm
But
not sure.
he was a really good backup. He was a really good backup. And
I wasn't too happy about the amount of money, but I liked the years. I would have been more happy with like 4 years, $30 million. But I think I think you need to pay him, especially if Lowry gets hurt and he can step up and be a starter and be productive for this team. Then I think that money will be easier to.
He wasn't even the
be
backup.
accepting of.
He wasn't even the backup at the Spurs.
he was.
No, Patty
Yeah, he
Mills.
was. Well, yeah, Patty Mills and him, they split time as backup.
But do you want to sign a guy for $10 million for 4 years to a guy who's split backup time?
Yeah, but in 2 years, that's going to look like a $5 million deal.
Well, and in 4 years, you're gonna have to pay him $40 million.
Well, I understand that, but what I'm saying is that when the CBA gets renegotiated and all the TV money comes in, that contract is going to be like a $5 million a year over 4 years deal is right now. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
in the future, that's not going to be a huge deal.
Okay. Well,
And with them just releasing Luke Ridnour, they just got what $7 or $8 million worth of free money right there. So I mean, they're not hurting paying Corey Joseph that much money, and Corey Joseph's relatively young, and he's getting better. So we'll see how that all pans out. If Corey Joseph completely lays an egg up there, backing up Kyle Lowry, and he's just being terrible every time they put him on the floor, then yeah, it's going to be a bad deal. But in the long run, I don't see it as an awful deal.
yeah, well, I mean, I guess for the now, I don't love it, but I guess at this point, when the CBA, all that money comes in, I guess that will look good. But for now, I don't love the money.
Yeah, I got you. I'm with you on that. Right now, though, we're going to transition, speaking of Canadians, to Graham's word association game with Canadian players. Graham, you can go ahead and explain to us what the rules are, and then we'll play it.
Okay, so kind of what I got here is I got five Canadian players, some big names, some maybe not so big names. And how it's going to work is I'm going to mention a Canadian player, and then we're going to have Trent and Brandon. They're going to come up with a one word to describe that player. So for example, if I was to say Corey Joseph, that'll be the first guy I'll use just to from me using him as my free agent signing. If I were to say Corey Joseph, Trent, what one word would you use to describe Corey Joseph?
Underrated. And the reason why I said that is because Corey Joseph is good at taking care of the basketball. He doesn't make a whole lot of mistakes. He can get you a fair amount of points, a fair amount of assists when he's on the floor. But most importantly, he knows when to push the ball and when to slow things down. Pop has really taught him a lot about playing the point guard position. And I think that's one of the reasons why he did get that money. So if I were to describe him in one word, it's underrated. He flies under the radar for me. I thought it was a really good signing by Toronto.
So
All right, Brandon, what word would you use?
Trent's gonna say underrated. I'm gonna say overpaid. I don't love the contract now. I mean, just like what I said, granted, it could be good eventually, but I don't like it now. So I'm going to go overpaid.
All right.
All right. Like that. For me, I'm going to say safety net kind of thing with the Lowry injuries that he's had. Obviously, Corey Joseph hasn't played starting minutes with San Antonio, but he's come from a winning team with a great coach that I think if Lowry does get hurt, Corey Joseph could step up and be a starter on this Toronto roster if need be. So I'm going to use the word safety net for Corey Joseph.
That's an expensive net.
All right, what do we got next, Graham?
Next guy, we'll go with Tristan Thompson.
Ooh.
Brandon, we'll go you first. We'll go back and forth. So, Brandon, what one word did you use to describe Tristan Thompson?
Ooh. I'm going to go with competitor. When I look at him, I see a fighter. He's always. I feel like every time a rebound's up there, he's always around it. I love watching him play. He just plays with passion, and it shows he cares. And I think he should be paid a lot. I'm not sure how it's going to work. I still don't understand how the Cavs are able to pay all those guys all that money, but. He should get paid, and I'm excited to see what he can do next year.
When I think of Double T, I think necessity. And the reason why I think necessity is because I think out of everybody on that Cavs roster outside of LeBron James and Kyrie Irving, he is the most important player, and I'll tell you why. Because Tristan Thompson does the work that other guys won't do on that team. He is a bruiser down low. He fights for rebounds. He gets more offensive rebounds per minute than a lot of people in the league. I mean, you got to, like, if I were to spell out all the numbers for that, it would probably blow your mind. That dude gets a lot of second possessions for the Cavs when he's on the floor. I think he's really necessary for that team to hang on to because they need that boost of energy either off the bench or starting in the playoffs like he did. He's not the best scorer, but when you got Kyrie and LeBron and Kevin Love on the team, you don't need a guy that can score. You need a guy that can rebound and play tough underneath the basket. And I think Tristan Thompson gives them that. So I'd say necessity.
And for me to kind of go off of that, for me, Tristan Thompson, in my opinion, one word for him is underutilized. For me, he's going to be fine going back to the bench. He'll accept that. But for me, as a Canadian and as a big fan of Tristan Thompson, with them re-signing Kevin Love, I would take that as a little bit of a slap in the face. With how he performed for that team in the playoffs, he can prove that he can play starting minutes, and given the opportunity, he can be a double-digit rebounder every night. So I think with them re-signing Kevin Love, that almost shows that they don't have quite enough faith in Thompson being a starter on that team. So I'm going to say underutilized for myself for my word for Tristan Thompson.
Well, I don't know if that's a lack of faith because if you had the opportunity to go back and get Kevin Love, you're going to do that. How often does a guy like Kevin Love fall in your lap? So I mean, I wouldn't go that far as to saying that it was a slap in the face, but I understand what you're saying. He does deserve more credit than he's been given. So I like that. I like underutilized is a good word for him.
Yeah. All right, next guy, we'll go with the reigning Rookie of the Year, Andrew Wiggins. So, Trent, what word could you describe Andrew Wiggins with?
The future. He is the future of this league. And the reason why I'm saying that is because he grew so fast between the first game of last season to the end of last season. He worked a lot on taking care of the basketball from beginning to the end of the season. He's got the right people around him to be to turn himself into a bona fide superstar, all-star every year type of guy. He's got all the tools. He's got the athleticism. He's smart. He knows what he's doing on the floor. I think Flip Saunders loves him, and he's gonna be somebody to watch for the next few years until he develops into that KD, Anthony Davis type of personality that we all know and love now. So he reminds me of those guys earlier in their career as far as just the raw talent. And once he brings it all together, he's going to be the future of the league. So I'd say the future.
All right, what you got, Brandon?
You guys are not going to like me for this. And not because I'm going to use two words. I'm putting a dash between them. I'm going to say maxed out with a little hyphen or whatever you want to call it. I think he's a great player. I love Andrew Wiggins as well. I'm a huge fan. I don't think I see a lot of potential. I don't see that potential coming out in his situation. And I think the kind of the stat line we got this year, I mean, it'll improve a little bit. I don't think he's going to be a superstar. I don't think he's going to be an all-star. And I think he's going to just be a borderline, starter to star player his whole career.
Wow.
I would way rather have Jabari Parker at this point. I see a lot.
Coming off the ACL tear, you'd rather have Jabari Parker, who played 15 games last season.
Yeah.
Rather than having Andrew Wiggins, who lit it up.
No, I absolutely would.
Okay.
I know you're gonna hate me for it. I'm not sure. I'm very unsure with him, and I think we've seen, close to what we're gonna see from him in the future, in his first year. I know it's really early to say, but
he's still only 20 years old.
No, I know. So is Jabari Parker.
Yeah, I think for me, like, we're all entitled to our opinions. Obviously, Brandon knows that I'm gonna hate that, so I'm not even gonna argue with you on it. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. I don't even need to argue. I hate that.
Well,
for me, Andrew
I love
Wiggins
him as a player.
Yeah, for me,
you just said he's done at 20 years old. You said he's done getting better.
Well, he's still a great player. He's just not going to be a superstar like everyone's saying.
Yeah.
Oh.
And I mean, going off of Trent when he said future, that's the one I was going to use, and I assumed one of you were going to pick it, so I'm a little shocked with Brandon. But I mean, hey, whatever you feel, man.
A lot of that is the team.
ACLs aren't major injuries or anything like that. Guys can come back from that and have no problem.
Okay, a lot of that is the
I think
situation.
Wiggins. I think he can be a guy that can be a future All-Star. I might even say future MVP, but he's got to have the right pieces. And I think I think he can be a good guy going forward with the Timberwolves. But to go on to my second to last Canadian, you all know who I'm going to finish off with. But we got Wiggins with the Timberwolves. The other Canadian, Anthony Bennett. Right before I get to the last guy, one word for Anthony Bennett, real quick, Trent. Who you got? What word would you say for Anthony Bennett?
Disappointment, and that's all I'm going to leave it at.
Yeah, Brandon, what you got?
Yeah, bust.
He just went out and said it. That's I love that.
Hey, I was gonna say it. Trent, you took my future for Wiggins, and Brandon, you took my bust for Bennett. So that's exactly what I think right there.
Great minds think
obviously,
alike.
the one that we're all excited about, at least I am. We'll finish off with him, the Canadian on the Celtics, Kelly Olynyk. Brandon, what one word you got for Kelly Olynyk?
I'm gonna go felon. After that, after a little tug in the playoffs, he pulled off on Kevin Love. I think it was a felony. I think he should be receiving some jail time for that.
Yep. Lock him away. Lock him. Put him in
Should
NBA.
we find in Canadian dollars or American dollars?
Anywhere but anything but Boston dollars.
Just to switch it up, just make it pesos. Find him in pesos.
Yeah.
And give him a calculator and try to find the exchange rate.
Yeah.
That's jail time enough. For me, KO, the one word I would use is limited. I think that he's good at what he does, but that's all he does. He stretches the floor. He can make a few baskets. He can get a few rebounds, but he's not going to scare anybody in the paint. He's not going to dazzle you with his athleticism. He's not going
What
to.
athleticism?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's not going to, give you this 20 and 10 kind of feel. He's just not that guy. I like him based off the fact that he's a little bit different. He's got an interesting skill set, but other than that, KO doesn't really dazzle me at all. So I'd say limited.
And for me, just to round it off, I'm going to say expectations. And I think for me, what Boston expects out of the guy isn't something that his skill set is going to deliver for the team. Like he's not going to be a 2010 guy. I love him. I'm a Canadian myself. You all know I love the Canadian guys. I have no problem admitting that if Kelly Olynyk was a 12-7-2 guy, I'd be fine with that. And I think that's kind of the direction he's going to go. I don't think he's going to be a 20-point guy. He's not going to be a 10-rebounder guy. But I think what the Celtics expect out of him, what they want him to do, his skill set is not going to allow that to happen. Unless he puts on 30 pounds of muscle, it's not going to allow him to be a kind of player that Boston needs. So I think that's why he's probably not going to stay that long in Boston. But I wanted to finish off with him anyway.
Well, yeah, his health has also been a question too. So we'll I guess we'll just leave it at that. I love that game though, Graham. That was good. We got some laughs out of that. I appreciate it. But when we come back, we're gonna finish everything off with a nice, dazzling review of the Celtics offseason so far. So stay tuned.
Thanks for listening to Green Talk, presented by GreenRunsDeep.com. Remember to check us out on Instagram at CelticsNation5, on Twitter at CelticsNation5, and of course the website GreenRunsDeep.com. And now, back to the show.
All right, welcome back, everybody. As our last segment, we're going to have to cut it short because we're approaching an hour of total time. But I just want to get you guys' final thoughts on the offseason for the Celtics so far. We got a bunch of guys on the roster. We used all 4 of our picks. We didn't trade anybody or any of the picks to go to move up or anything. And we got Rozier, we got Hunter, we got Mickey, and we got Thornton. We signed Amir Johnson in free agency. We re-signed Jonas Jerebko and Jay Crowder. And then the big deal just recently, we acquired David Lee in the trade with Gerald Wallace, which I can't tell you enough how happy I am to have Gerald Wallace off the Celtics roster. Graham, just give us a couple minutes of what you think about the offseason for the Celtics so far.
I think for the Celtics with the offseason, I think the draft is kind of interesting when you can't move up those picks and you got to take 4 picks. Some of those guys might go playing overseas. Some of those guys might never see any action, kind of thing. And I think Rozier was a little bit of a interesting pick with the 16th one. Hunter, we were still able to get at 28. I know people were kind of hoping we got him at the 16, but at least we still grabbed him at 28. And I think it makes it tough when you have such a young team to have a lot of new young guys. We got a lot of point guards, and I think that's why the summer league can kind of be good for a young team like that, is because it gives guys like Marcus Smart the opportunity to say, I want to be the point guard of this team. Trade Rozier. If you can trade him, I can be the guy, kind of thing. So I think it forces the guys you've already drafted previous years that are still young on your team to step up, because you've drafted a point guard with the 16th pick who I'm not sure if Rozier's quite ready to be a starting point guard. It could be right off the bat, but they wouldn't have drafted a point guard if they didn't have some ideas of where they could go going forward. That to me means Smart is in play when it comes to trade talks. By drafting a point guard that early. And then when it comes to the free agents, if Amir Johnson can stay healthy, great signing for them. If I'm the Raptors, and I think most other teams, they would rather have DeMarre Carroll over Amir Johnson, but I think he's a good guy for the Celtics to have. Same with the trade for David Lee. Fantastic trade. Great to have Wallace off the books for sure. 2 good veteran guys. David Lee obviously coming off a championship. He's going to bring a winning mentality to Boston. Same with Amir Johnson. Again, his health is going to be the big question. If he can stay healthy, it's going to be great for this team. I think I don't want to say the best, but the most, maybe not even the most important. I'll go with that anyway because I can't think of another way to describe it. Signing was with Jerebko. I think he's fantastic off the bench. I think he's so underrated. I think he has the ability that he can go out and have a 25-point night, and he can do that. If other guys are having a bad night, he can be that guy that can step up and say, you know what, you're having an off night. Tonight's going to be my night, and he can go and have a 25-point game every now and again. Not consistently. Like, consistently, he'll get you maybe 10 or 12. But he has that ability to go out and possibly get a 25 night. And then lastly, with Crowder, he's got that toughness that I think you need in a team like this, for sure, going forward.
Yeah, I'm with you on the Urepko re-signing. I really like that. Brandon, what do you think, man?
You know, draft night was very disappointing for me, particularly with that 16 pick. I mean, you look at guys who they passed on. You know, if they wanted to go point guard, they passed on that Grant from Notre Dame. They passed on Bobby Portis. They passed on Sam Decker. I mean, there's just so many other picks that I feel would be better. And now we're stuck with pretty much a roster full of point guards and power forwards. You know, it screams that our offseason is far from over. I think there are many other moves to be made, or maybe just one big one. But, you know, the roster's a little whack right now. With that being said, I do like the R.J. Hunter pick. Mickey's been looking great.
Yeah, he has.
You know, I'm not sure. I haven't seen too much on Marcus Thornton. I kind of wish they took a chance on, you know, that Washington center, Robert Upshaw. He went undrafted. I guess they weren't too interested in him. But, you know, they didn't draft for need. They drafted for, I guess, what they thought were the best players available. And, you know, that doesn't seem to be too bad of a strategy either, looking back at the recent drafts. Love the free agent signings. I love the Amir Johnson signing. I'm huge on him.
Yeah, me too.
That second year's not guaranteed. So if they're in a situation where they want to sign a guy next summer, or, you know, he's just injured more than half the year, which is a concern for them. You know, they can drop him for nothing. They have a lot of money coming off the books. David Lee's making like 16 or 15 mil this year. So, I mean, that's potentially 27 million off the books for next year. We can get a max contract guy, maybe two. So I love the offseason. He's putting together a solid team for the East, and, you know, it's not perfect team yet, but he's definitely leaving room for flexibility for the upcoming years. But it's not over. With that being said, this offseason is not over, and you just look at the roster, and it speaks volumes for how much change is in store for this team.
Yeah, I'm right there with you on that. I think Danny Ainge is a mastermind, and I think he doesn't do anything just for the hell of it. The Rozier pick was surprising, but I don't think it had anything to do with the idea that they really wanted him for anything besides they thought that he may be the best value at that position, or they wanted to use him to potentially construct a trade with, or if Marcus Smart was going to be on the block, they had somebody else to kind of fill those shoes. He provides a lot of versatility in what moves Danny could make. The only problem is that it seems like a lot of the league doesn't really want to deal with Danny at this particular point, because they don't want to look like a donkey at the end of whatever deal they make. Amir Johnson, I can't wait to see what Brad Stevens decides he wants to do with him. One of the best pick and roll guys of all last season, if you really break down the numbers. Amir Johnson is he's athletic, which is something that the Celtics really need. And whatever position you can get that in, athleticism is something that the Celtics were really hurting for all last year. So having him on there really gives a good boost to just having to deal with that all that energy and all that speed and such a giant package is a lot to deal with for anybody. Crowder obviously fits perfectly with that system. Got to have a tough guy.
Great contract though for us.
Yeah, seriously.
That's a steal.
And even the Urepko contract, his second year is not guaranteed either.
Yeah.
So you can get rid of him a lot easier. I think Jordan Mickey in a couple years is going to be a Draymond Green-esque kind of guy.
Yeah.
I watched a lot of him during the summer league. He is improving. He's getting He's playing smarter. He's really interested and loves the idea that he's going to be in the league, and you can see it in his play. Love Jordan Mickey. R.J. Hunter is going to provide a good piece of shooting off the bench, hopefully. And then David Lee, we've seen what he can do. If he can stay healthy, he's going to be a nice little centerpiece to a nice front court for the Celtics in the next upcoming season.
Yeah.
But I'm with you, Jordan. Brandon, I couldn't agree with you more that we're not done. Danny's definitely not done making moves. I think he's on the phone as we speak, probably trying to get something done. So for him, there's never an off season. There's just what moves can I make? What things can I do to make this team better? And I like the fact that the Celtics have a GM like that. It's going to make them really interesting to watch. Trades are always fun. Does wonders for the league. So I'm really interested to see what's going to happen in the next few months regarding the Celtics. But Graham, final thought, man. What was your favorite part about this show? And what are you interested to see in the next month or so?
Favorite part. I mean, I just like talking basketball. To be honest with you guys, like living in the UK, basketball's not very big over here, so I don't have a lot of guys I can chat basketball stuff with. So it's nice to be able to have this opportunity to talk some basketball with you guys. And I'm with you. I think Boston's got a very active couple months coming up ahead of them for sure. As much as the divisions don't necessarily count anymore, and playing in the East, really, as long as you can find a way to compete with Cleveland, I think that's the platform that I think teams in the East try to match. Is not necessarily to be better than Cleveland, but we need to be able to put starting five and a solid 3 or 4 guys off the bench that can compete with Cleveland. And I think Boston's on the way to doing that. But again, it's going to be a very active couple months. So just want to say thank you again for having me on and talking some basketball with you guys. And hopefully the off season and the season starts off well in Boston for everyone.
Yeah, I hear you. Brandon, what you got, man? Final thought, brother.
Final thought. A little breaking news. Amari Stoudemire signs with the Heat for 1 year, $1.5 million. Love that signing. Watch out for the Heat. Big players for the years to come. Big opponents for the Celtics. We'll see. I'm excited to see them next year. Excited for the Celtics. Hashtag boogie to Boston. So long from SoCal. I'm off to the beach.
I hear you, man. And my final thought here is the other breaking news we were discussing during the break. Darren Williams has organized a buyout with the Nets, and we all think that and everybody else thinks that he's going to the Mavericks. And I'm interested to see how they're going to shift around some of the guys they have in the backcourt there to make room for him. My personal favorite thing that we did, other than the game, which I loved, Graham, was talking about the DeAndre Jordan thing. To me, it just, this kind of press in the middle of July is so great for the NBA, whether it be good or bad or indifferent. It's so good to have people talking serious NBA news during the offseason because it's great for the league, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. It's always good to have the league in the spotlight when it's not the season. So I really appreciated that.
It's been a great offseason.
It has been really exciting. And I can't wait to see what other moves the Celtics are going to make in anticipation for this upcoming season. So, I appreciate having you guys on. Graham, no problem, man. Glad we can have you all the way from the UK. It was nice having you. Brandon, as always, love you, brother. You have fun on the beach.
Yes, sir.
And we'll talk to everybody hopefully next week. Until then, bleed green. This has been the Green Talk Podcast.
Thanks for listening to Green Talk, presented by GreenRunSteep.com. Remember to check us out on Instagram at CelticsNation5, on Twitter at CelticsNation5, and of course the website GreenRunSteep.com. Until next time, that's all for Green Talk. Stay tuned for the next announced podcast.